So for this video, we're going to cover basically the same thing that we've been covering for the past month. I still see that there's a few people that are having trouble with some of these, but the majority of you guys, it seems like you're getting it and you're understanding it. So basically, we're just recapping the numbers and operations unit for this week. So that way, it's not as difficult as covering something completely brand new. But I mean, I still see that some people are making some minor mistakes. And I am making assignment 16 and 17 a little bit harder because you guys now have to simplify the fractions. Once you end up getting your actual answer, you have to simplify. And I'm using a little bit slightly bigger numbers now. So the multiplying, the dividing, it's going to be a little bit harder. So let me start off with adding and subtracting integers. So this is one area that I still see that some people are having some trouble. So let me start off with, let's say something, it's a little bit of a bigger number. So something that's like about 142 minus 15, something like that. So with this, like every other problem that we've been doing, you have to see and make sure what symbol is in front of each number. So the first thing is 142, that's a negative number. So that'll be in the negative side. And then 15, there's a minus in front of it. So that means that it also is a negative number. So these two numbers, since they're both negative and negative, they combine together. So these two are going to be basically added up and it'll be a bigger negative number. So 142 minus 15, it's almost the same thing as saying 142 plus 15. So that answer will be 157, but it'll be negative because this one is negative and this one is negative. So both of them combine together. So it's like those examples that we were talking about, like soldiers on the field. So if 142 soldiers go out into a field that's a battlefield, and then they run into 15 soldiers that are also negative, they're both on the same side. So they're both going to combine, and then they're going to join forces, and then it's going to be 157 negative. So that's one way to look at it. So 157. Now, if you're doing something like let's say one of these. So let's say the same exact problem, but this time, let's say that there was a negative in front of the 15. So it's a negative 15. So now it's 142 minus negative 15. So now in this case, because there's two minuses in front of each other, these two combine together, and then it's going to give you a positive. So now the problem is 142 plus 15. So now this is a little bit different, right? So in this case, this number is still a negative 142. And then this number right here is a positive 15. So now they're two different sides. So if these two guys go out onto a battlefield, so there's 142 and then there's positive 15 and this one's negative and this one's positive, they're going to fight against each other, right? So 15 of these are going to cancel out 15 of these. So then basically what you're going to do is 142, but you're going to take away 15 of those guys because they're going to cancel out. This 15 is going to cancel out 15 of these guys. So now you're going to be left with negative 127. And that is because 15 of the positive guys are going to cancel out 15 of the negative guys. So this number is going to go down to a negative 127. So that's if there's two negatives. So that's what happens, or it creates a positive. Now let's say that there is a different example altogether. So now let's say that we're doing something like the same thing, 142, but this time it's a positive 142. And then minus, let's say it's a bigger number, like 210. So now what's going to happen is you have to figure out, okay, so what symbol is this one? This 142, that is a positive 142. This 210 over here is a negative 210. So you have a positive 142 and a negative 210. So now what's going to happen is these two guys, if they go out into the field, they're going to fight against each other because this guy is positive and then these guys are negative. So they're going to fight against each other. So these 142 are going to cancel out 142 of these guys over here on this side. So now basically the real problem is 210, and you're going to take away 142 of them, and you're going to be left with 68 negative guys. Because this number, this 210 that's negative, is much larger than 142. So the answer will be a negative. So you're going to be left over with negative 68 guys on that side. So that's pretty much it for like adding and subtracting integers. That's what you have to just remember and keep in mind of the that one rule of the two minuses. If they're right next to each other, then it will create a positive. And then you also have to keep in mind that you always have to first figure out what symbol or what sign each side is going to be on. So now let's go into adding and subtracting fractions. So there's different types of this. So the first one is, let's just do basic, easy ones. So let's do some adding first. So I'm going to do an adding and a subtracting easy version. So let's say you have something like 1 over 9 plus 2 over 9. So when you're adding and subtracting fractions, if the bottom number is the same, it's super easy. You leave the bottom number the same, and all you're doing is you're just adding the top ones. So now it's just 1 plus 2, which is 3. So now it's 3 over 9. And that's it. You don't have to worry about the bottom ones. So the bottom ones, since they're the same, then you'd leave it the same. But now you have to ask yourself, okay, well, if 3 over 9 is the answer, can I simplify this answer even further? In this case, yes, you can. You can divide both the top and the bottom by 3. So if you divide 3 by 3, it's going to equal 1. And then you divide 9 divided by 3, that'll be 3. So now your real answer is going to be positive 1 over 3. So that's with adding. Subtracting is the same way. So now let's say same exact problem, but now we're subtracting. Let's say it's 1 over 9 minus 2 over 9. Same thing like we had up there. So since the bottom numbers are the same, then you leave it the same. Put a 9 on the bottom, and then now all you're doing is 1 minus 2. So now this goes back to what we were learning just a little while ago, is if you have, this is a positive 1, and this is a negative 2. So if these two guys go out on a battlefield, and you have one positive guy, and you have 2 negative guys, and they fight against each other, then this positive is going to cancel out one of these negatives, and then what are you left with? Negative 1. So it'll be a negative 1 over 9. And that'll be your answer for that. And this one, you can't simplify that further. So you're done. So it's negative 1 over 9. So that's with adding and subtracting fractions. So this is like a simple version of it because the bottom number is the same. Now, when the bottom numbers are not the same, that's when you have one extra step because you have to make them the same. So let's do one of the sort of the same question, but let's say it's 1 over 9 plus 2 over 3. So now this is a little bit different. So now what you have is different bottom numbers. So now what you have to do is you have to make them the same. So what can you do to make this 3 to turn into a 9? You would have to multiply by 3, right? But when you do that, you're multiplying both the top and the bottom by 3. So now your new problem is going to be 1 over 9 plus 3 times 3 is going to be 9. And then 2 times 3 is going to be 6. So now it's 1 over 9 plus 6 over 9. Now, since the bottom numbers are the same, now it's easy. So now the actual answer is going to be 9 on the bottom, and then 1 plus 6. So now you're just doing the top. So 1 plus 6 is 7. So now the answer is 7 over 9. And then you have to ask yourself, can I simplify that further? In this case, no, you can't. You can't divide both by 2 or 3 or 4 or anything else. So that's your final answer right there. So that's when the bottom numbers are not the same. So now let's do mixed fractions. So let's say now we have a 2, 1 over 3 plus 2, 1 over 6. Something like that. So now what you have to do is first you have to change these mixed numbers into a regular fraction. So the way that you do that is 2 times 3, and then you add the 1 up here. So 2 times 3 is 6, plus 1 is 7. So now your regular fraction is going to be 7 over 3. And the 3 is on the bottom because that's what was on the bottom to begin with. So you leave that one the same, and that one goes down here. So now you have 7 over 3 plus, and then now let's change this one into a regular fraction. So 2 times 6 on the bottom here, plus 1 on the top. So 2 times 6 is 12, plus 1 is 13. So now you have 13 over 6. And the 6 is on the bottom because that's what was on the bottom here to begin with. So that one just moves down there, right? So now this is your new problem. So now we have both of them are regular fractions. So 7 over 3 plus 13 over 6. Now you have to make sure, okay, before I do anything, is the bottom the same? And in this case, no, it's not. So you have to make them the same. So now what you have to do is this 7 over 3. The 3 has to be a 6, so we can multiply them by 2. So now the new fraction that would be here would be 14 over 6. And you don't need this anymore. You don't need any of that. So now the new problem is 14 over 6 plus 13 over 6. So that's your new problem right there. And now, since the bottom are the same, now you're just adding across. So now the answer is going to be 6 on the bottom. And then all you do is 14 plus 13. So 27 up here, and then that's 6 on the bottom. So now the next step is, well, can we simplify that? And in this case, yes, you can. So you can actually divide both of them by 3. So you can simplify by 3. So 27 divided by 3 is going to be 9. And then 6 divided by 3 is going to be 2. Now that's your answer. So your answer is actually going to end up being 9 over 2. That's it for that. So that's with mixed fractions. So now let me go over multiplying. And this is where most students are having the most amount of trouble. So multiplying and dividing fractions. So in this case, the only good thing about it is that you don't have to worry about whether the bottom number whether the bottom numbers are the same or not. So let's say something like 9/6 times 2/4. So all you're doing in this case is you're just multiplying across. That's it. So 9 times 2 is 18. 6 times 4 is 24. Or let me see. Yeah. And then you have to decide, okay, well then, is this my answer or can I simplify that? So in this case, yes, you can simplify it by dividing both by 2 because both the top number and the bottom number are even, so they can both be divided by 2. So 18 divided by 2 is 9, and then 24 divided by 2 is 12. And then can you simplify that even further, which in this case, yes, you still can. So even though they're not both even, they both can be divided by 3. So 9 divided by 3 is 3. 12 divided by 3 is 4. Now you're done. So that'll be the answer for that. So that's when you're multiplying. So, and then also remember, so when you're multiplying numbers, if one of them is negative, then the answer is going to be negative. If both of them are negative, so if you have like a -2 times -2, since both of them are negative, the answer is going to be positive. So -2 times -2 is going to be a +4. But -2 times +2 is going to equal to -4. So if they're both negative, then it equals to a positive. And then obviously everybody knows +2 times a +2 will be equal to also a +4. So the easiest way to remember this is that if they're both the same sign, it's going to be positive. And this is only when you're multiplying and dividing. So now let me show you one other thing. So let's say that we're doing something like mixed fraction. So now let's say that we have something like 5/4 over 3. Let's do divided by. Divided by 3/12 over 16. So this problem, even though it looks pretty simple, it's actually going to be a very large number. So now what you have to do is you have to divide this out. So when you divide two fractions, the first step that you're going to have to do, because they're both mixed fractions, is you have to turn them into regular fractions. So what you're going to have to do is we multiply this first. So 5 times 3 plus 4. So 5 times 3 is 15 plus 4 is 19. So 19 over 3 divided by, and then now on this side, 3 times 16 plus 12. So 3 times 16 is going to be 48 because you have to do this. So 16 times 3. So 3 times 6, 18. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 1 is 4, 48, right? So 48. And then the bottom number stays the same, 16. So now from here, what you're going to have to do is flip this because this is dividing. So we get the reciprocal of this, and then we just multiply. So now what's going to happen is 16 is going to end up being on top, and 48 is going to be on the bottom. And then this symbol is going to change from dividing to multiply now. And that's how you divide fractions. And now all you have to do is multiply across. So now you have 19 times 16, which is going to be 304. And then 3 times 48, which is going to be 144. So I know for sure because both the top number and the bottom number are even, we can divide both by 2 to simplify. So 304 divided by 2. Let me do that. I guess I can do it up here. So 152 is on top because we can divide both of these by 2. So 152 is on the top, and then 144 divided by 2 is going to be 72. And then I can still simplify this further because I can divide both by 2. Because they're both even on the top and the bottom. So 152 divided by 2 is going to be 76. And then 72 divided by 2 is going to be 36. And then they're both still even on the top and the bottom. So I know we can still simplify further. Divide that by 2. So now we have 76 divided by 2, which is 38. And then 36 divided by 2, which is 18. And then we can still simplify that further because we can divide by 2 again. So now you would do 38 divided by 2, which is 19. And then 18 divided by 2 should be 9. And then now I know I can't divide them by 2 because they're not even anymore. So you have to try to see, can I divide 19 by 3? No, I can't. Can I divide 19 by 4? No, I can't. Can I divide 19 by 5? No, I can't. Divided by 6, still you can't. 19 divided by 7, nope. 19 divided by 8, nope. So that's it. You're done here. So that'll be your answer after all of that. Finally, you get down to where you can't simplify both of them any further. And then you're done. So 19 over 9. So that's for multiplying and dividing fractions. So that's that part right there. The only other thing, let me see if there's anything else. Yeah, Yeah, I did the mixed fractions already. So mixed fractions should be pretty easy, but I still have some people having trouble with those. So you just have to remember the process. So doesn't matter what the number is, whether it's 6, 1/2, something like that. But when it's a mixed fraction, you have to turn it into a regular fraction. So 6 times 2 plus 1. And then you, on the actual fraction that you turn it into, the 2 is going to stay on the bottom, so I already know that part. And then the top number is going to be this. So 6 times 2 is 12, plus 1 is 13. So that'll be your fraction right there. And then you just have to make sure that you can't simplify it further than that. So in this case, you can't divide both by 2, so that's it. So it's 13/2. And you're done with that. So let me see. So Dawson, do you have any questions? I think I see that you have your hand up. Let's see. Okay, so does anybody have any questions? So now you guys can unmute yourselves if you want to.
No, sir.
No, sir.
No, like go like this.
No, sir.
No,
No, sir.
What's your YouTube thing, Majiggy?
So I can I will upload this to YouTube right after this, and I'll put the link on Google Classroom. It's always going to be on the same
Bro,
page.
but I searched it. Bro, hey.
All right, guys. So then that's it. I mean, if you guys do have any questions, then just message me, and that's it. All right. So that's going to be the last session for this week, guys. So there's not going to be any more Zoom sessions this week. Everything's going to be due by Friday. I'm going to put the quizzes links for assignments 16, 17, and that's it. It'll be due by Friday at midnight. All right. Bye, guys.